So, what is the real problem in Indian esports?
People from the industry will come back to bite you.
Take this, I would say, this for everybody, take it a little more seriously. Esports is not just fun and games.
Problem in this industry, and I'm not saying that it is only some people who have that problem, but I think everyone have it, is ego.
In the recent years, what's been happening here is the owners who come in, they are not that mature. I feel in that aspect. Okay.
It's probably in the next 20 years going to be probably the top 4 or top 5 industries worldwide.
क्या करना होगा? 4 लाख है, चलो 8 लाख रुपए डालते हैं, 8 लाख रुपए डालेंगे, सबसे अच्छे प्लेयर्स मिल जाएंगे, अच्छे प्लेयर्स मिल जाएंगे, अच्छी टीम बन जाएगी, अच्छी टीम बन जाएगी, चलो 3 महीने में फूक देते 50 लाख रुपए और इसकी टीम भी तोड़ देते हैं, अपन भी तो रहने नहीं वाले, 3 महीने बाद पैसे नहीं बचेंगे, ऐसा हो जाता है.
Treating prize money as your primary source of income. This I cannot emphasize on this enough for every org owner in this country or any country in the world.
Who've been with you, who've supported you, whom you have shared some industry secrets, or whom you have shared your own personal secrets, they come back and bite you.
Yeah.
I never felt that could be a case.
Owning an esports org has become a quick-fire trend that has run rampant around our country and is honestly a good thing to see. We see so many people trying to enter the industry and trying to breach the market, breaking barriers. But we see only very few of these actually try to sustain themselves and make it past the 1 year, maybe 1.5 year mark. They seem to exit the industry just as quickly as they enter, or even fall from grace while taking almost everyone with them. The whole world is out there to see it all. And sometimes it gets a little ugly. But what exactly is happening? Why are orgs coming up in India so quickly out of every single corner, but they're not even getting a chance to stand on their feet at all? Let's take a dive in and talk about some things that I noticed while trying to research for this. An esports org works on 3 main pillars, at least when broadly categorized: economics, management, and planning. These 3 make up for everything an org needs to run except the players and their performances, which come in a separate bubble. But if that bubble is strong and sturdy, but the backbone of the org itself starts to break, that's when everything starts to tumble. Economically, when you come in with a lot of money and are ready to start an org, you need to start by having a plan, by having a roadmap, whether your vision is matching the roadmap of the publisher that's making that game happen in your country. And also a plan to understand how much money goes into what, which esports title do you want to enter, what do you want to achieve, how to build the org, the brand, what players you need, etc, etc, etc. To enable a team like that to win, you need a good management system. A management that you can trust to do the things for you and do the things for the team that allow them to be a great environment for the players, and some people that you can trust, because you may or may not know that deeply into the market, because these managers that you hire, or the management people, the staff, will have that industry experience. This in turn will allow you to plan for longer, because you're going to be able to turn in revenue by your brand growing, by your org growing, and with the deals and brands that you get, with the revenue that you get, the planning goes on to a longer stage and the cycle repeats and so on. But while this sounds pretty simple on paper, it is highly likely that when you enter this industry, one of those 3 pillars is almost always broken. And if you are strong enough to rebuild that, only then and only then will you be amongst the orgs that survive and sustain the way they are right now at the top of Indian esports. Or else, you will die. How to manage these 3 pillars though? What was done wrong by the orgs that ended up dying and failing, and what is being done right by the orgs that are currently thriving for years and years to come? So many questions, and I've luckily got some amazing people to answer these for you so that you can learn how to maybe start an esports org and not die trying. Some of the main questions that I brought in over here were of the follows. Number 1, the declining age of owners as the trend keeps moving forward. Our industry is very young. Yes, we're going to have younger owners. Yes, we're going to have owners who will have money backing, let's say from their parents, or if they're lucky enough from an investor. But is the declining age causing to be a problem in terms of experience of running an esports business, which is not exactly like other businesses in our country?
But in the recent years, what's been happening here is the owners who come in, they are not that mature. I feel in that aspect. Okay, they're not mature enough to understand that this needs to be run for a longer time.
Yeah.
If you see any of the like fallen orgs, just imagine what they did. They come in, they pour everything they got,
Mhm.
and they win everything. It's not like they lose everything; they win everything. And once they realize after winning, there is nothing to do for them because their intention is to come here, win everything. And after that, I don't know what their intention was at all at the end of the day. So what they do is they come, they pick great lineups, they spend way more than what is needed. And once everything is burnt out, they don't know what the future lays on. Okay,
Hmm.
they can't build an ecosystem around the org. They don't know like how to structure it, what needs to be done. It's always in that aspect. I feel like if you
Hmm.
see few orgs which run by, I felt this was their problem at first.
Think age is causing a problem in terms of judgment for them?
I think partially it is. If you look at few people who have done that, yeah, it is. But if you see, just to give an example, if you see Medal,
Yeah.
just see them. The owner is young.
Hmm.
I don't think they are losing at all. He knows. I think the first season was okayish. The second season right now, it's still okayish.
Hmm.
But he has a plan for the future, I guess. At least
Yeah.
from the way I'm looking at it, he has few youngsters whom he wants to develop for next few years probably, and some great what do you say, experienced guys sitting there who are willing to help the org and the players as well.
Yeah.
So if you are trying to build in that direction, I don't think age is going to be any concern.
Hmm.
But if an youngster comes here to pour money and just pick up whatever the team is, if he doesn't create a team, that means he has failed. He can't just buy team.
Yeah.
Buying team is the biggest mistake you can do ever. You have to build a team, you have to make changes with the team, and that's when you understand, okay, this is right thing for me, for my org, and for the players as well, to grow eventually.
Yeah.
If that doesn't kicks in, I don't know, maybe that is the factor. I guess it's not just the age but this factor.
That I think that's a very important thing that I think a lot of the esports orgs that are coming up today need to understand that you come in with this huge amount of money and you're like, okay, you
Yeah.
know what, I've got maybe investors, I've got maybe parents, whoever it is backing you, and they're like, okay, you know what, we're gonna spend, we're gonna make a big roster, but they don't think about what's going to happen once that money burns out, or how do you get the revenue in, which I think is a big thing in your business model, I believe, because like you just mentioned, you didn't go for the roster unless you knew how to monetize it.
Yeah.
So, could you please explain your process of thought? Like, what do you do before starting a team? How do you generate revenue?
So I'm gonna, basically answer this question in two parts. What I used to do and what I do right now.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a good learning process for anyone who's looking to actually get into esports.
yeah,
I think most founders would say that don't get into esports. I think you should get into esports,
mhm,
even in any capacity. Even if you have the appetite to probably make a new team and probably get someone to back you and everything. I don't think it's a bad business to be in.
yeah,
It is a long term business. It is growing right now, and I think we are currently at least at the best time to get into esports. So initially when we started off, I remember we had a Call of Duty mobile team. We got that team. I think the biggest break for us at that point in time was I left my family business, which is a 3 decade old infra company,
mhm,
and started Revenant. And our first ever big tournament was the Call of Duty mobile stage 4 regional championship, and we became one of the teams to make it to the world championship
mhm,
and won a prize pool of $50,000 at
mm,
that point in time. And I was like, there is money to be made here. It's
yeah,
like it's not like BGMI is going to basically run this whole ecosystem, even though it's going to be a market leader. But there are other games that you can actually look at.
yeah,
Post that, it was very hard for us to get a BGMI roster at that point in time. I really wanted this roster called Megastars, which
yeah,
actually played the PMWL earlier with Encore, Paradox,
mm,
Austin, and Top Dog. We got them. I know whatever we were offering was 2x more than the market, because we had to build that sort of substance, saying that if someone would had to go to a organization maybe like Soul or
Yeah.
an organization that's already been there, there has to be something that has to uh, give the player a sense of security, saying that okay, fine, I'll choose this new organization.
Yeah.
Plus, the journey always for the first 3 months with this is a little difficult, because it takes time for the players also to believe the organization that they're going to pay us.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay us for 1 month and go bust, because
Mm.
that's what generally happens. So initially, it used to be like I used to get these rosters and then look at opportunities on how I can monetize this roster.
Mm.
Post that, I realized that it's a vicious circle. Like, I mean, the cost of the roster keeps going high. There are, at that point in time, I remember I'd already invested in buying iPhones,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly BGMI was back, but it was only back on Androids.
Yeah.
So I had to buy Androids again.
Mm.
So those were a couple of costs that I never really put into my whole projection.
Got it.
But right now, when I actually look at building a roster, we remove a yearly cost. We have a stop loss
Mm.
as to, for 3 months I've put in money,
Yeah.
and I've hit the loss period where, I can't sustain anymore. That's when, we just pull the plug.
Mm.
Plus, I think now, before we get into any sort of game, we try and make sure that there are monetization opportunities already available. Like
Yeah.
with Valorant, it was a very, very difficult decision for me to make. We were getting Rossi. I've been a big fan of Rossi.
Mm.
Paradox is been like, Reven's been like home for him. It's his second stint here. I think
Yeah.
a very good individual. But when we're getting into Valorant, I knew we had that whole Alienware campaign going on for Rossi. We had a campaign going on for Creo for Rossi. Plus, Creo was sponsoring us. We got
Yeah.
another two gaming PC brands like ViewSonic and AMD. So it it just felt like, I mean, I'm not going to probably lose so much money, but in terms of games like BGMI, you don't really look at, say, the sponsorship aspect of things, because you're getting so much numbers from
Yeah.
these players, where there is a media value also attached to what these players offer, the exposure that you get from BGMI, plus basically the number of tournaments that happen, third
Yeah.
party, tier one, and all of that. So you're always visible, and pulling sponsorships for those games are not hard. Plus,
Mm.
and a marquee event like the BGMS happens every year, which is on Star Sports.
Yeah.
So right now, whenever we get into a roster, we generally look at three things: the monetization opportunity, the exposure,
Yeah.
uh, plus, like how long can we sustain in case we don't monetize at all.
Yeah.
So these are the three main factors we generally look at right now. But initially, it used to be like on the fly. We started off with like, fuck, I'm gonna get this roster and I'll figure,
Yeah.
how to, yeah.
You've worked with multiple different teams, you've been a part of orgs, and at the same time you've been a part of the back end now, where you give the orgs the opportunity to compete, right? So in your opinion, as a TO, what has been the biggest problem that these orgs face that is not letting them stay alive for more than maybe a year or two?
Okay, so if we see traditionally in terms of how business develops in Europe or America versus how business develops in India, the primary source for income for them
Mm.
um, is brand sponsorships, partnerships, deals,
Yeah.
and not prize money. But that is where the flaw comes in India. For I would say 95% of the orgs, their primary source of income is the prize money
Mm-hmm.
on which they wait for. Prize money, which is again subject to a 33% deduction from the government itself. So that is not a sustainable source of income. That is not a sustainable source of uh, raising a business. Most people get into this as a passion project,
Yeah.
and then okay, it's good to start it off as a passion project, but then at the end of the day, it's like any other business. Numbers have to justify. Can't just keep pumping in money. Um, the difference I also feel in most contracts outside India and inside India is over here our athlete contracts. I would say 95% of them don't include athletes' um, compulsion to stream. Um, outside, there are contracts where it's specified you need to make X number of public appearances for the brand, X number of public appearances for the org. You need to do X number of streams because that's the only way to make your assets presentable. At the end of the day, if an org is a company, all the players are their assets. That's what brings in the value. So that's where I feel only a few orgs in India are able to do it perfectly, where they are monetizing well. They are, they're monetizing well. Their athletes are streaming. They have a decent fan base around them. They're getting good brand deals. One prime example, I would say, there are many. I mean, there's obviously Soul. You have Revenant, who's doing a great job. So these are just some prime examples. The OG did a pretty decent job last year. Anna has got pretty decent sponsorship for his team. So it's just the way you approach it. Rushi, I think the way G has done it, would say is G, Revenant, Soul probably are the top three examples in the country right now, in terms of how they're branding, how they're the sheer content, the connectability with each player, basically their marketability is just off the charts.
The experience of running a high burn, slow return, which is a long form kind of a business, is something that you need to get really used to because you know the burn's going to be high. How are they going to be equipped to running a business like this when they want quick results and want to be at the top within no time? Advice seeking and ego issues that were pointed out and asked about as well, because these owners that are coming up new right now need to learn more from things around them. They need to be a sponge. But is it that they are having ego issues, as pointed out here by Rohit Jagasia, who was talking about how advice seeking is one of the most important things, and you can approach any owner at any time, but they don't really get those kind of requests.
Problem in this industry, and I'm not saying that it is only some people who have that problem, but I think everyone have it, is ego. I mean, ideally, when you're actually getting into another business industry, you like to talk to people, you like to do your qualitative research more than quantitative research. And here people everyone wants to have that big dick show. Saying that, fuck you, I'm going to get this team and all that. I don't want to, basically take any qualitative sort of advice, or I don't want to take advice. I mean, very honestly, I also really don't take too much advice from people, which I realized late. But fortunately now, I mean, at least we have a very good relations with other organizations like Soul, especially Global Esports, Velocity, Orangutan. We keep talking, we keep discussing stuff as to what should work for us, what shouldn't work for us, and everything. And I think that's helped all of us, I think, extremely well, where we know how to make sure whether if a player is generally asking for a higher salary, saying that OG is going to pay me more, so I'm going there. But now the organizations are talking, and I think the newer guys, or the guys who just come in right now, they don't make too much effort on speaking to the people within the whole ecosystem itself.
One of the things that I myself came up with was the fact that these owners who come in, yes, they have a lot of money to invest, but should they first try to maybe work with another esports org which has been fairly successful, talk to the managements of different orgs out here, understand, be in the industry by yourself for a year so that you know what happens and what not, if you are not from the industry, that is. What's been the biggest issue according to you?
आई थिंक यही है कि उनको बहुत क्विक रिजल्ट्स चाहिए थे, तो उन लोगों ने यही लॉन्ग टर्म का प्लानिंग नहीं किया कि उनके पास कितना है, कितना इन्वेस्ट करना है और वो कैसे सस्टेन करना है. वो वाला चीज एस्पेक्ट लोग भूल ही जाते हैं. चाहिए क्या होता है, अरे VLT जीत रही है, अरे जी टॉप में, ये दोनों टीम टॉप में, इनको हराना है तो अच्छे प्लेयर्स चाहिए तो उनको सैलरी डबल देनी पड़ेगी, पोच करना पड़ेगा. क्या करना होगा, 4 लाख है, चलो 8 लाख रुपए डालते हैं, 8 लाख रुपए डालेंगे, सबसे अच्छे प्लेयर्स मिल जाएंगे, अच्छी टीम बन जाएगी, चलो 3 महीने में फूक देते 50 लाख रुपए और इसकी टीम भी तोड़ देते हैं, अपन भी तो रहने नहीं वाले, 3 महीने बाद पैसे नहीं बचेंगे, ऐसा हो जाता है. I'm not specifically talking about any organization.
Yeah.
That the name organizations you named, some of them have been running from quite some time also.
Yeah.
तो होता है कभी कभी कि organization break ले लेते हैं. जैसे Grey Fox has been there from quite some time, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
Because
1.5, 2 years almost.
yeah, they have been there from quite some time. Who else? God's Reign was also there for quite some time.
Yeah.
फिर हाँ समुराई का नहीं पता, एवरीबॉडी नो, बट या सो ऐसा रहता है कि लोग ब्रेक पे आते हैं. वीएलटी भी ब्रेक पे आई थी, ऐसा नहीं वीएलटी ब्रेक पे नहीं आई थी, बट वी कम्युनिकेटेड दैट इज द ओनली थिंग. हम लोगों ने ऐसा नहीं कि कुछ कमिटमेंट कर दिया फिर छोड़ दिया. पहले प्लेयर्स को ड्रॉप किया, प्लेयर्स को घर अच्छे से पहुंचा दिया, उसके बाद विद इन 30 days आई वाज वर्किंग ऑन द एसेट रिकवरी. वो कंप्लीट हुआ, उसके बाद जब I got one more opportunity, तब मैं स्विच आउट किया. तब तक we were all in a honeymoon period कि नहीं भाई अब हम लोग थोड़ा सा रिलैक्स करते हैं लाइफ में. तो 3 साल हम लोगों ने बर्न आउट कर लिया अपने आप को, मतलब नॉट फाइनेंशियली बट मेंटली ऑल्सो टीम को लेके. तो दैट इज हाउ वी हैड अ क्लैरिटी. तो क्लैरिटी बहुत जरूरी है कि भाई आप क्या चाहते हो एंड ऑफ द डे. 1 साल तक रहना है तो 1 साल का फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करो. इस महीने इससे ज्यादा नहीं करना है, कितना रिकवर कर सकते.
One of the main other things, of course, is money being in control of somebody else. Now, while you might be an org owner, there was something very plain and bluntly pointed out to me by VLD Sentinel Ikianna, who told me that if the money that you are using to invest in an org is not in your control, if it is being given to you, you are using it. But if the yes or a no of a third party is going to influence the salaries of your players, is going to influence what you want to invest by somebody else, then this money is for your esport org is not going to do anything, because one single no and one day could turn things ugly within seconds. And that's kind of what even happened with the likes of Samurai Esports and Lethal.
To be very honest, I mean, no disrespect to Kabir, I have immense respect to him, but this is an industry where a lot of careers and lives are dependent on what decisions you make.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if the decision is not in your hands, I don't believe that you should come here. So it's like, you know, I'm running a business of esports on my own money. It's fine. It's your money. You can take a call whether you want to stay or you want to leave. If that decision is taken by someone else and I'm only the face of the company, then I don't encourage it, or I don't, you know, back that idea. So forget the business knowledge part. You can gain experience out of this as well. I don't say that this is a business where you need a prior experience before you want to get into it.
Yeah.
But all that I'm saying is, if you are, you know, hiring 10 people, so their monthly salary is dependent on decision that you are taking, it's fine. If somebody else is taking the decision, then you are in the wrong side of the pitch, because tomorrow if that someone else, could be your dad, could be an investor, could be anyone else, says no, then what is your backup?
Exactly.
Ultimately, you have to come out and say no, which is in a very bad spot, because the guy who was trusted you, he trusted you, but not the face behind you.
True, yeah.
So this is like, you know, a vicious circle. It could lead to other things, which is also what is happening right now. In the current scenario. So you better know what you want to spend. You better be very open with your team as well. VLT, you can ask this equation with anyone, and everybody would have told you would watch for me saying that yes, Anna told us that it is a 5-year plan and it is going to end at this date if you don't achieve X and Y things.
Yeah.
It was very open and I kept it very open. I've told all this to all the people that were there. So in that way, and also the other thing is, I would encourage the players also to do some due diligence in this day and age of, you know, people having, you know, their accounts public. Most of them, it's not very hard for you to know whether that guy is legit or not, or does he really claim to have the kind of money he says he has or not. Little bit of due diligence is needed. Even in my case, when VLT came in, yes, I might have a Ferrari parked in front of my house, but that doesn't give the confidence what players might need.
Yeah.
So when VLT started, right away I spoke to my friend Rippy, because they were ex-teammates, to find out who Manoj is. Does he really have, because I'm a new face in the industry, right? So Anuj and AS did that due diligence with the players. When I used to play Counter-Strike, they understood that yes, this guy knows esports. He was a player before. He would not default.
Yeah.
on them because it was a new. Then they had offers from other orgs as well. It's not that I was the only org offering them.
That actually ties in really well because new face being something is always a concern when it comes to whether you can pay money or not. But is it the fact that also these youngsters who are coming up to try and build something in the esports, do you think they need to first be a part of the esports in a different capacity, like be an employee, be a manager, try to understand first, or because they don't have the experience or have seen the industry like most of the players in their own teams have, because most of the players end up being older who've been playing for 6 7 years. Do you think they need to try a different path once to maybe be in the industry for 1 2 years as, I don't know, managers, or probably intern somewhere else just for the experience, or do you think it's not required at all?
No, younger players, I would say they are more vulnerable, right? If somebody have tens of DMs every day saying that we qualified for X and Y event, please sponsor us, please sponsor them. We've qualified for the Pokemon Unite or Clash of
Mm.
Clans or whatever event it is.
Yeah.
They're all they're all players who are very vulnerable.
Mm.
They're looking at people like us, all the big organizations, to come out and support.
Yeah.
But if someone like me doesn't support, and if they end up, messaging some random guy, and if he says yes, then you are in a position where your mind doesn't ask you to think twice.
Yeah, because the money
You
will come
you
in, you think.
just blindly trust him and proceed.
Mm.
Whereas actually at that point of time is where you have to do your due diligence. You have to go back, take a step back, and say, "Ki ye kaun hai?
Mm.
Who is this guy? Do I really trust him with what I'm doing?" And also, it could be a fact that players hiding this secondary passion of theirs from their parents,
Yeah.
where they don't have that elderly advice which they need at that point of time, at that age.
Yeah.
All these add up. It's like everybody knows we are doing it, but nobody wants to come out and say loud.
Yeah.
Because governments also are earning money from whatever esports organizations are doing, but government never comes out and officially recognizes that this is a skill-based sport compared to others which are coming under betting and gambling.
Yeah.
So it's like that. It's the attitude that is being portrayed it's continuing with everywhere.
I also brought in Kabir Kohli for this, aka the owner of Medal Esports, who has been an anomaly in this field in that at least sense of age, is what I'm trying to say, because he started an org at the age of 13 and has been consistently been able to run it for 4 years. As Medal Esports still stands strong with brand deals from the likes of Nissan to his name as well. He's one of the core examples that I wanted to bring up in terms of what a younger org owner could do, and what exactly is it that Kabir did where when the questions of experience and age started popping up in front of his face. How have you been a separate anomaly in that sense, who's been able to run an org for 4 years now and you're continuing still on that trend?
I think it's like a lot of it is about, as time will go by, a lot of as esports gets more, as esports gets bigger, especially in India, more younger people are going to get into it.
Hmm.
And in India, especially, I think it's a much lower bar to get into esports than it is in other regions, per se, like in the US or even like Japan or wherever.
Yeah.
So it's a much lower bar compared to other places.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier for these younger people to convince their parents ki, yeah, it's going to be. And at first you're going to them who haven't like worked in esports before or seen how it works. To them, they think it's a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them will think it's a profitable industry.
Yeah.
It's really not.
Yeah.
So that deception and what they tell their parents to what will be the outcome ki, later on, when their parents see like, okay, it's been this many months, we haven't seen even close to half of what we've put in.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And even if like the younger person's trying to convince their parents ki, no, keep doing it, it's a very hard thing to do.
Mm.
So for me personally, like being able to do it is more like knowing when to cut down, knowing knowing when to cut down, and knowing where to take the decision of should you be paying this person like 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, whatever, or should you just cut back on it for a bit, still
Hmm.
have presence, and try to bring it up from there. But I've been super lucky to have like, it's again like my mom's very supportive of me,
Hmm.
so it's easy for me to say, but I'm sure it's a little different for others.
A lot of these people have been in the industry for over half a decade as now owners and even longer as gamers. They have given their word and spoken their truth about what they think has been the problem. But I not only spoke to them about the stuff that was bad, I also spoke to them about the mistakes they made, from what they learned, and stuff that was bad as well, from where they could probably impart wisdom, could impart their experience, so that they learned by themselves and the industry around them, and not just them, but also new org owners who might be watching this video. Let's say you have 5 crores in your bank account, everything is in your hands, you have 5 crores. What would be the first 5 things you do if you were starting Velocity from scratch right now?
So exactly what Velocity did is kind of model what I would want people to follow. You know your end date.
Hmm.
You know how much you want to spend every month.
Got it.
In that budget, what you can you do? You can't do everything. It's not possible. You cannot have a BGMI. You cannot have a Valorant. You cannot have a Game Changers. If 5 crores is your budget, 5 years is your timeline, you cannot do all at once.
Yeah.
Which is what I also learned. Even we experimented with Game Changers. We experimented with BGMI. Pushed a little more. We ate up into that 5 crore lot that we had
Yeah.
to see if maybe if that is the path that leads us to more success. We never know unless you do it.
Yeah.
We've done all this. Then we understood no, you have to build a foothold in only one thing.
Hmm.
Then we focused only on Valorant. Then we understood content creation and having those. I would not call them content creators. I would say brand ambassadors technically. So you need them to
Yeah.
back you up. So whenever VLT is playing, you need all those socials to spam everywhere so that the brand value of VLT comes out. Every person has their own fan base, even though most of us share the similar, watching crowd. I would
Yeah.
say 60% is similar, irrespective of who's streaming. But extra 40% is what makes the difference.
Yeah.
So we invested in that. We invested in that asset of, let us create financial freedom to these creators. In turn, let them back VLT. So that's how the whole concept of we paying creators and taking them on board happened. Now suddenly a VLT became, and when we started, when we won the first event of TEC, VLT had a total Instagram followers of about 2,000.
Yeah.
When we signed Fatu, when we signed Simmer, when we had all the other creators slowly join in, by the time we were playing LCQ, we were almost at close to 25,000.
Hmm.
And when we won VCC, it was about 35.
Yeah.
So we being there built up that story of what Valorant was to what Valorant is. In that entire journey, VLT was always there.
Yeah.
So that again created that brand image, what VLT has today, plus with the creators backing up. So it's like you have to build your own ecosystem. Again, if you want to do everything, I'm not against it, but be very mindful that what you want to do over there as well.
Hmm.
Have targets, short term, long term targets, and then work towards that.
Yeah.
So if you're only in one place, then you can have more, freedom to experiment.
Hmm.
If you're in multiple places, then it's not easy. So that's the only thing. See, ultimately, all these organizations have one goal of, representing India internationally and winning something there,
Yeah.
irrespective of the game.
Hmm.
Are you inching towards that or not?
Hmm.
That's the only thing that you have to check. Are you progressing? Are you not progressing? If you're not progressing, what is that you need? So in that process, we had multiple coaches. We had international coach. We had a domestic coach. We had an analyst.
Yep.
All those things we have done.
Hmm.
So, but when the results are not coming, there is nothing, no shame in saying, "Okay, bye, I'm done."
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing wrong. Then it's an image issue, basically. That's what you have to check.
Yeah.
So even now with Grey Fox, they know exactly what VLT is going to do.
Hmm.
There's no secret in it. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
We are there for Split 2, we are there for Essential. If it's not happening, we cannot continue.
Yeah.
It is very, very straightforward, very, very clear. Even players know it. But when I'm there for that duration, I'm there 100%.
Got it.
There is no from my side. If somebody wants something, it is there. You want a boot camp, it is there. They want a different coach. No happens to Godspeed, but He's there.
3 mistakes that you made that other people should avoid who are starting esports orgs now.
One mistake which I made, which I even regret till now, is not protecting my players. I should have protected the players better from, could be Excali's incident or could be antidote. Had VLT retained the core, I'm still seeing that we had potential of winning Ascension. It could be a joke right now because all the players are still playing and nobody has proven anything significant.
Yeah.
But playing separately and playing as a unit was two different things. So even now, I strongly believe that if the core playing 5 which started VLT were there together, we had at this year, if we still continue and we are playing Ascension in 2024, I would say that we had a shot of winning it. So why didn't we do it? Because I never protected the players from outside things. I never thought that it could happen where people from the industry will come back to bite you, who've been with you, who've supported you, whom you have shared some industry secrets, or whom you have shared your own personal secrets. They come back and bite you.
Yeah.
I never felt that could be a case, but it happened to me. That's one thing I have learned. And the second thing is you have to let go. I was very emotional towards players, towards their commitments, towards their lives, towards their families to an extent. Again, you have to treat it as a proper esports thing. It's a sports thing. He's a player who's playing for you, and you have to limit your role only up to that, not get involved into all the other aspects. That is the other thing that I have learned.
Advice to people who might be watching this who want to start an esports org. 3 mistakes that you feel that have given you a lot of learning.
3 mistakes. I duly don't recall. I think मेरा एक बार मेरे को जब डांट पड़ी थी, मतलब मेरे मिस्टेक्स के नाम पे मैं ये बोल सकता हूँ, मेरे को एक बार जब अन्ना से डांट पड़ी थी was during अगस्त 2021, वो नॉर्डविन वाला जो VCC था ना, तब के टाइम का, तो तब मेरा स्लीप साइकिल बहुत एफ हो गया था. लाइक मैं भी रात भर जगा रहता था 5 बजे तक 6 बजे तक, और उस टाइम पे अन्ना आए थे बूट कैंप पे, तो उस टाइम में मेरा थोड़ा सा स्लीप साइकिल एफ हो गया था. तो अन्ना आए थे और मैं आधे नींद में उठ के आके ऐसा ऐसे 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 कर रहा था. अन्ना लाइक पहले होश में आ जाओ, उसके बाद फिर ऐसे ही मतलब 1-2 बार अन्ना ने वेकअप कॉल दिया है मेरे को बीच बीच में कि मतलब मतलब सी आई हैव टू गेट द वर्क डन. Our friendship, our relation and everything is there, but work is work.
Yeah.
So like it's not like nobody is replaceable. मतलब कोई भी replace हो सकता है industry में. You have to understand that. So to hold your roots to the foundation, you have to constantly evolve and you have to wake up कि भाई आप वो with the flow के lose नहीं हो जाओ. तो वो एक मिल गया था, तो तब से फिर that is the biggest thing that that has kept me intact. So अभी भी अब मैं बहुत discipline में रहता हूँ. I wake up at 7 o'clock. I go to gym. वो भी मेरे को like I've taken this influence from these people only because they are doing so much in life. Workout कर रहे हैं. They're keeping themselves up to the mark. Going to the office जाना है, business का ख्याल रखना है, passion का ख्याल रखना है, फिर YouTube का भी ख्याल रखना है. And then family also. So 5-6 things you have to take care in a day. तो वो efficiently run करना, तो आपको discipline में रहना बहुत जरूरी है. तो I won't say mistake, but this is something I would say कि discipline is something that is very important. तो ये चीज मैं हमेशा से मेंटेन करते आया हूं, and that has never let me down. आप डिसिप्लिन में रहोगे तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. अगर आपको कोई चीज नहीं आती, आई थिंक मिस्टेक के नाम पे ये एक चीज बोल सकते हैं, इफ यू डोंट नो एनीथिंग देयर इज नो शेम इन सेइंग अ नो. दैट आई कैन नॉट डू इट. वेरी सिंपल. ना बोलने सोचते कि छोटे हो जाएंगे, ऐसा नहीं है यार. आपको नहीं आता, हो सकता है यार. नोबडी इज बोर्न विद.
Always learn.
You can always learn. So it's a learning curve end of the day.
So last thing, I know there are going to be people who are going to be watching this who want to start an org. One piece of direct advice, if you're talking to them right now, what would you tell them before starting an org? One piece of advice, simple and straight.
Okay, so one piece of advice would be कि कौन सी स्पोर्ट में आप इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो, कौन से गेम में पर्टिकुलरली, उसको अच्छे से पहले स्टडी करो. वो पब्लिशर का क्या रोड मैप है एंड आपका जो विजन है वो अलाइन होता है कि नहीं, वो एक बार अच्छे से समझो कि भाई आप इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो तो उतनी विजिबिलिटी भी आपको मिलेगी या नहीं मिलेगी. दिस इज द आई थिंक द फर्स्ट थिंग आई वुड रिकमेंड. ये अगर अलाइन नहीं हो रहा तो फिर ऐसे ही पैसे मत बंद करो. That is one thing.
So I necessarily didn't learn it while I started my business. So before this, I've had work experience also. After MBA, I worked in Singapore for a bit. I
Mm.
learned stuff there. I learned stuff with my dad. I think he's been a great teacher for me
Mm.
while I was involved in his business. But at least with an esports business, if I have to tell you like five things that I've learned is don't go nuts with the money you start with.
Yeah.
Second, always probably uh, I mean, make sure that your players and everyone are getting everything that they need. But you know, while going nuts, don't basically uh, forget revenue.
Yeah.
Always focus on revenue. Price pool is not going to make you profitable. It is nothing. It doesn't even pay your boot camp bill for the year.
Yeah.
You know, price pools. Fourth, I mean, it's very very important to really take feedback from your players, your staff and everyone. It's very important. So we at Revenant, whether I am there or not, we make sure every twice a week our entire team has like an operations call as to what's happening, what's going to happen, what we're going to do. It is
Got it.
very important to empower your team to not work in silos. Secondly, like start building entrepreneurs within your company itself. Like
Mm.
today, if Darshan and Nick have to put something on social media, I am not a naggy person. I know they understand the tonality, brand voice. They understand everything. They understand stuff I like. So I believe that every founder, while they are building their esports team, it is very important to build their, you know, core team also, where you know. Yeah, and I think one thing I learned was when we started off with Revenant, we never did content.
Mm.
We used to just if we qualified for a event, we just post that on Instagram.
Yeah.
If we probably just won an event, we'd post that on Instagram and roster announcements.
Mm.
It was never really about talking to your audience. So talk to your audience. It is very important. I have been in two minds about streaming also. I want to start streaming,
Mm.
but it's just that I have not been finding the time. And I
Yeah.
think every sort of organization owner who's getting into esports should basically engage with the audience. I think Anna, Goldie, White, they do it really well. And if you see most of the other successful guys,
Yeah.
all successful organizations, I think apart from us and Orangutan, I think Yash also doesn't really stream. I don't stream, but Yash still does, like, I think he talks to people on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's very important to engage with the audience. I have not done it. I reply to DMs and everything on Discord and Instagram, but that is something that everyone should do. And I also
Mm.
intend to start doing it. I just don't find the time at the moment.
Fair enough. So these are things that you learned that people could obviously use, but are there regrets or mistakes that you made that
Oh
you
yeah, a lot.
so could you give us some instances that people could, maybe avoid by themselves?
Like, I mean, I think, there are so many, man. I mean, I think this will,
Something that you really think would help an org owner who's coming up right now.
uh, from a mistake point of view, I think sometimes it's just that in this industry, you tend to trust people too much.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've had an instance
This
where,
is this has been kind of a monotonous tone across two other interviews I've taken already.
yeah, I mean, generally, it could be, fortunately, I've never had that problem with my players, but with the support staff who learned everything from me and, learned everything at Revenant and actually really gone to another organization and, probably maybe applied it there or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I think something that people in this industry don't respect contracts. People
Mm.
don't respect opportunity,
Hmm.
uh, and it's just that emotionally probably try and not get involved with someone until you've worked with them enough, because it then eventually takes a toll on you when
Okay.
you see someone you've always considered close, or someone is a part of your inner circle or whatever, when they've gone and worked for your competitor or something of that sort. That I mean, in that way, I think the people who are coming in new should not really let people learn running their business on my investment or that person's investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have got the same investment like 4 years before
Mhm.
and would have been the best or ever existed.
Mm.
But I think I shouldn't say it a mistake. I still got a lot of things now.
Yeah.
That was one. Second, over trust the people who are around me.
Mm.
A few managers, a few players, and that gave a lot of nightmare for us.
Mm.
Third, uh, what should I say? RCCs.
Mhm.
Don't ever go into CC program by paying something.
Mm.
That is not going to work.
Mm.
If you are making CCs, make sure you are getting benefited out of it.
Yeah.
If not, it's not going to work.
Mm.
For the, I think those are the three biggest things I feel
Okay.
from my perspective, which I have done till now. I don't have
In
4
a,
and 5.
okay, that's fine. What are the 5 things that people are doing wrong or who are coming up right now?
One, not asking questions. They need to be vocal. They
Mm.
need to ask everyone, the
Yeah.
TOs, the publishers, other org owners, players, managers, everything. They're not doing as much as it needs to be.
Yeah.
Second, make sure you go for sustainability more than victories, because 1 year, 2 year doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's very bad to say, but still, look at OG. Last year, they were best of everything.
Yeah.
This year, they might get relegated.
Mm.
That's a shocking thing. Never go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Third, again, trust on people.
Mm.
Don't go blindly. Make sure you understand them and they're worth your trust.
Changed by orgs to people who are watching this, maybe who want to become the next org owner of India. What are the 3 things that you think that they should start doing at the first step?
Okay, first things first, and this is a big one for all our owners. Esports is like any other job, you know. Your players are your employees at the end of the day. You cannot have them sitting on your heads making decisions for you. That is how disasters have happened internationally. That's how orgs have been finished internationally. So, at the end of the day, that employee employer relationship, the hierarchy in any company, if no matter if it's a corporate or any, it's like team India mein koi hierarchy nahi hai. That's not going to work out, right?
Yeah.
You have selectors, you have people on top of your head. Even somebody like a Dhoni or a Kohli is answerable to someone, right? And these are big names than any other esports athlete combined worldwide. So
Mm.
if those guys are answerable to someone, you know you're not bigger than them. You
Yeah.
have to be answerable to someone as well. So they should start treating it like an actual job. You have KPIs, you complete your KPIs, you get those rewards. You don't complete your KPIs, you reevaluate. But you can't just keep throwing free salaries and be like, oh, he was my favorite player back in the day, and even though he plays 4 games a month and does nothing else, I will still keep paying him whatever salary he wants. That's not going to function. Okay. So
Mm.
first point is definitely, take this. I would say this is for everybody. Take it a little more seriously. Esports is not just fun and games. It's probably in the next 20 years going to be probably the top 4 or top 5 industries worldwide. So definitely, it's not fun and games. You have to take it seriously, like other orgs in the world have. Second point I would sort of say is, which I've addressed before, it's the content and marketability. With most orgs, the content going out is quite substandard. I have no relationship with the players, I have no relationship with the owners, I have no relationship with the org. Basically, it's just like most people are like, oh, I'll start a new org, I'll bring in those 3 4 famous people, and people will start supporting me. But what when those 3 4 famous people leave?
Mm.
Then your org just becomes, what the hell? Like, nobody cares about your org anymore.
Yeah.
That's where the flaw comes in. You've got those 3-4 people, you market them. That again I see lacking in 90 to 95% of the orgs. It's most like generic content. Oh, I play today. Oh, I win today. Oh, I've lost today. It's even TOs put that. Why should I follow you? A TO at the end of the day would put a story of whatever's happened throughout the day. I don't need to follow you to know if you've won or lost. So there's a lack of originality in terms of content and specifically relationship building.
3 mistakes that you've seen that should not be done by, like, 3 mistakes that you already have seen, like, not anything related to what you've said before. 3 mistakes that should not be committed no matter what. It could be anything, economically, management, whatever it
Okay,
is. 3 mistakes.
3 mistakes. Mistake number one, which you've already addressed, is people hiring players just for the sake of it, without having any KPIs, without having a plan to what to do with them. Do not hire players just there because they're going to win you games. You can probably find a young talent and mold him into a player like that, as long as he's ready to put in the effort and the grind. If I see a lot of, and this goes out to players as well. I've seen a lot of players destroy their careers because of their inflated egos and what they develop throughout the time. I mean, it is natural. You are in the limelight, but at the same time, it's necessary to be humble. People like Anti, people like Rossi, they're prime examples. They're nothing more than superstars, but they're at the end of the day, if you find them at an event and if you go talk to them, you'll realize they're still very nice, down to earth people,
No.
and that's how they deal in most situations as well. This for orgs, you have to hire a team player. You have to hire someone who puts in the amount of effort and work, and who's clocking in your KPIs for you. Who's marketable as well.
Yeah.
Second big mistake, again, which I've already addressed, is stop treating prize money as your primary source of income. This I cannot emphasize on this enough for every org owner in this country or any country in the world. Prize money can never be. It's like, me saying, oh, Manchester United winning or Manchester City winning the Premier League, the $20 million they get is their prime. So that's peanuts for them. The money they win in winning the title has nothing. You make money, that is, you win the title so that you get the brands to invest into you. And third, I would say again, vet the people you hire.
Yeah.
Stop hiring people because they charge lesser salaries, or stop hiring people. Oh, he's my friend, please hire him. No, vet the people you hire. Please have more managers like Raja. I cannot emphasize on how important it is. Raja is a prime example, who's currently, I think, at MLT
Yes.
with Antiano. Prime example on what a good manager is supposed to do.
I hope this video reaches the right eyes and ears, because these industry experts have given some of the best advice that they have themselves learned by being in the industry for years now. Because in the upcoming few months or years, they're going to be more org owners, and these owners themselves have openly admitted in this video that you can approach them, you can talk to them, because they themselves talk to each other every time there's a problem and need some advice. As far as I've heard, these are the main things to be focused on when you are starting an esports org. Planning your vision, making sure you've got a roadmap before you start so that you understand what exactly is it that you want to achieve with this esports org. Vetting people before you hire them, and no emotional or connection type hires without merit, and especially without industry experience. Making sure that the money you want to spend is available to you at any given point of time for the next 1 or 2 years, whatever you have planned, and is not at the whim of someone else above you saying yes or no. Revenue generation from any means possible. Brand building and marketability of your players so that they are used as much for your org itself, which you are giving them so much through, as just as much them being just players and playing for your org. Defining KPIs for your whole org, considering everything as an asset. Have a stop loss and understand when not to give into unnecessary expenditure of your players or staff when it deems necessary for them, and making sure you understand what money goes where all the time. And the last one, not depending on prize pool as your main source of income when you start out. There are a buckload more of things that you can do right, and there are also going to be a buckload of things that you will do wrong. But the main and the most important thing is that you learn from your wrongs and you turn them into rights. You can only learn while you keep doing what you're doing, learning from the things around you and taking advice from the people around you who have admitted that they are always open to talking to new people to understand, because they want people to enter this industry. This video was not meant to harm or single out anyone or any org or anything for that matter in terms of what happened with them. It was only meant to showcase the mistakes that were made so that they themselves, if want to come back, can recoup and do something differently this time, or the new org owners who are going to be coming up this time will look at the industry, learn from the people who have made unfortunate mistakes, and they will start off by not making the same one. Because we do not want orgs to be shut down in unfortunate ways, things that sometimes might or might not be out of their own control, or might just be a cause of simple non-planning or extra expenditure, because we want the industry to grow as a whole. I hope that even one person who wants to start an org amongst the thousands out there who watches this video gets to learn at least one thing from this video, gets at least one piece of advice that they can implement to improve their business. And the esports industry as a whole can go towards a much more greener, more sustainable, and more lively direction. I'll see you guys in the next one.